the brain's challenge is a processing challenge in trying to get this code to generate this internal simulated language stream in a comprehensible way. Though it's quite different in many respects, it's also very similar to the kind of processing challenge that you experience from your computer when, for reasons having to do with how much power it has and how many different programs or applications or windows or whatever you have running at once, the computer bogs down, it goes slow, it stutters, it doesn't respond to you. And in a very similar way, in a very analogous way, the struggle that children experience during the process of learning to read is analogous to not having a processing system inside their brain that's sufficiently developed to automatize this code into an internal experience of language without so much effort that the processing stutters and their attention can't stay engaged. I will come back to the computer analogy as we proceed. I want to start off again by just framing that the brain's challenge is essentially a processing challenge. Deconstructing this challenge, we see that there are a series of sub-issues that must be understood. Essentially, in order for the reading process to generate a comprehensible simulation of language, the brain must process incoming visual information, the code, into an assembly of auditory memories according to the instructions and information contained in that code and according to previously learned procedural instructions about how to process that code, and do all this fast enough for attention to the processing involved to stay engaged. More specifically, this means recognizing graphemes, and for more advanced readers, morphemes, and disambiguating, by the way, I'll come back to that word more later, the right correspondence between those visual elements and the naturally learned speech code underlying spoken language. This process must result, at least initially during the learning to read phase, an internally heard, virtually spoken word that can be recognized and comprehended. And as we will soon see, this has to happen incredibly fast. To better understand these processing challenges, it's important to kind of deconstruct them and break them down into their kind of constituents, the components out of which the brain generates this. So first we have the elemental components, and then automatizing the processing of the components, synchronizing the automation processes, and processing all of the above fast enough to have enough time to work through the confusions before the processing stutters up and attention drops out.